grow muscle and lose fat faster? Prova Immune is not herbs and spices. It's not a proprietary blend. It's patented. It's a one-of-a-kind product. It's backed by science from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Prova is a protein antibody. It's different. It's real science and gets real results. Check us out at prova.com.
Hello, I'm Brian Dobson, owner of Metroflex Gym, the original home of hardcore training. This pandemic has nearly crippled the fitness industry we all so dearly love. With Metroflex gyms now opening up all across the country, it's our turn to hit back. If your health was ever a priority, now's the time. Now's the time to stop feeding your fear and your anxieties and feed your desire to get back on the saddle. For desire is the starting point of all achievement. For those who feel uncertain for what the future will hold, I'm here to assure you Metroflex Gym will continue to provide a platform for bodybuilding and strength conditioning athletes all across the nation. This optimism extends to potential owners looking to venture into owning and operating a Metroflex Gym. With interest rates at an all-time low, you can open up your own Metroflex Gym for the price of a new car. Our Metroflex Gyms are back in business. We're now waiting for you to do the same. Stay hardcore, y'all, and God bless.
Tighten up.
Yep.
Welcome back to Guru Talk. I'm Dave Palumbo, and today I'm joined by my good friend Amin Alai, Guru Amin Alai, and his brother Adin Alai, who I've not seen in probably 20 years. What's
20
up?
years. More than that, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Adin and I did, the last time I saw Adin, I remember this distinctly. We were going for this commercial where they were looking for a massively ripped bodybuilder. So I figured, all right, I got this thing, no problem. Because I'm the biggest guy in New York. I'm like 300 pounds. I'm like, like 5% body fat probably. It was like off season. I was really lean still. They wanted a massive guy. I go to the commercial and I see, a range of all the bodybuilders from New York. So there was like, all of us would go to the same commercials. And I saw Adin there. I'm like, there's no way he'll ever get this because he's not that big. He's a good looking guy. He's in shape and everything, but I'm the biggest guy here. So I figured if that's really what they want, because you never know what they want. Of course, they didn't really want someone as big as me. They're like, when I went in there, they're like, oh, you're big. I'm like, well, that's what you wanted. You wanted a big freaky bodybuilder. And they said, you're a little too big. Anyway, Dean got the commercial. So our agent at the time, Mike Lyons, who's still doing this thing with Adam Silver now in the city, took everyone out to eat, all the bodybuilders. I remember I used to take the Long Island Railroad from my dad's house into Penn Station. And in Penn Station, they had a big Houlihan. So we all met there, got off the train, went to Houlihan's. Mike Lyons threw this big party, and we all had this crazy big dinner. And that was the last time I saw Adin alive. And so what have you been doing since then?
Was that a Nintendo commercial or a
Yes,
Pringles
it was.
commercial?
You're right. That's right.
Nintendo. So it was me, you, Gerard Dente,
Right.
and a few other dudes, and we were all there. And that was at the beginning of when they came out with different colored Nintendo Game Boys. So
is that what it was? Wow, you got a good memory.
that was it.
I think
So
Frank
they-
Zeppi was there too. Yeah.
Yes, Zeppi was there
Zeppi was there
also.
too.
Ended up booking it, but what it was is I don't know what the age range is of people that usually kind of tune in, but back in the day, Nintendo Game Boy was only gray. And then when they came out with different colors, they had this commercial where they had this like girl with green pigtails this way swinging on a swing,
Right.
a dude playing a black one that was on a motorcycle, and then there was me, and you saw this kind of the camera going through a crowd, and it was me, and I was wearing a sash that said "Play It Loud" and a tiara and a dozen long stem red Nintendo Game Boys, and I was doing the kind of Miss America wave. But oddly enough, that kicked off a 20-year career, because from there I went to the Arnold Classic. I was flown to the Arnold Classic, and I was with doing some work with Lou Zwick. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah,
name.
sure. American Muscle.
Yeah, and we were doing some kind of man in the street interviews at the expo, and this was right when Strive equipment launched. So remember, Strive, it has the concentric, eccentric, and middle range kind of plate loading system.
You picked 3 selections, which one you wanted.
And Frigno was repping it back then, and he was my idol. He was like one of my idols.
Yeah, you got to hang out with him.
So like the whole day, I was like, Lou, can we go interview Lou Zwick? Can we go interview Frigno? Can we go interview Frigno?
Right.
And he's like, no. Finally, at the end of the day, towards the end of the afternoon, he goes, okay, let's go do it. And I was begging for it. This is my idol. I mean, it's like I grew up watching the Hulk and all that stuff.
Yeah, no, I was the same for me.
So I have a couple questions drafted. I don't remember what the questions were, but the first question was, hey Lou, this is Dean from American Muscle, here to talk about. And then the microphone, literally was pulled out of my hand, and I see his eyes go above me, and and I turn around, and Arnold had walked in at the far end of the expo.
Oh, no way.
And this look in his eye was like, again, this guy is away from me again.
So Arnold took the microphone from you and started interviewing Louis?
No, Lou and the whole camera crew ran down to the other end of the
that sucks.
Arnold.
That sucks. By the way, what did you make off that Nintendo commercial? Do you remember?
That ran, I don't know, man. That ran several years. That ran 2 years, I think. I think I made something like 60 or 70 off of that.
Wow, that's good. Yeah, that was a big one. I remember because Mike Lyons must have made a nice profit off that too, because I've never seen him treat every single guy to a crazy dinner like that. So.
Well, I mean, from there was I had a stint on the Big and Tall Casual Mail. It was a 6-foot poster of me in every GNC across the country.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
There was 4 other national commercials, and then I did a dumb thing. I was like, well, let me lose the weight and be taken as a serious actor. And instead of you and me and 5 other meatheads in a room, it's me and fucking 500 guys.
That were models, They were like Brad Pitt.
They're all doing flips and shit, and I'm like, what am I doing here? So anyway, it was a fruitful career. I'm one of the fortunate ones that made money every year. Yeah. Sometimes more than enough to live, other times just enough to live. Mm-hmm. But supplemented that with the personal training business while I was in New York.
I tell people all the time, whenever I would go for these commercials, they always wanted a huge bodybuilder, and they never really wanted a huge bodybuilder. They wanted a guy who was middle of the ground. So I would get football player commercials. I did a few of those. I did do a commercial with Howard Stern's girlfriend at the time, now his wife, Beth Ostrowski, for XM Satellite Radio. That was probably the biggest one I did.
That's cool.
That ran for years, that one. That was another, it was like with you. It was a nice payout, that one. I did I was an extra in a Tums commercial. It was all big people, but I was the big bodybuilder, but there was a football player, a former New York Giant guy, but then it was all fat guys, comedians. It was his. I made so many friends there that were, and these guys were all in big time movies. They all had bit parts. If I pointed out the movie, you'd be like, oh yeah, I remember that guy. But that was a fun commercial. So I had some good. I didn't make a fortune doing it. We did Batman. A bunch of Mike Lyons guys and we were some background guys in there for a week or two. So it was fun. I think it was it diversified your portfolio for sure. You know what I mean? That you can act and do stuff like that. I knew we were stereotyped tremendously by how big we are. You can't get parts in Hollywood if you're that big. That's why Arnold used to downsize.
I mean, that's what they said until The Rock came along and Vin Diesel and all these other guys. But no, we were bigger. We were way big back then. I mean,
well, The Rock was already a star in wrestling, so that's why the transition was easy. Right. Same thing with Arnold, But you told me a funny story off the air about the fact that you went for a commercial for a taxi driver.
Sure.
You got to tell that story. That's a good story.
Yeah, it was a show. It was a show for the Sopranos. So I had a 10-year part on All My Children, kind of off and on again. I actually did something a year ago, actually, right after the Super Bowl. So every once in a while, it still trickles in. But it doesn't pay. I just got a commission check for 6 cents.
Yeah, me too. I get those all the time.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. That was gross, by the way, not net. They still had facts about that. Bullshit. But anyway, So no, it was The Sopranos, and I was in there for the third time, and the casting director kind of had a reputation of being a bit of a ball buster, and the role was like a cab driver, and I was like, oh, okay, like I think Mike sent me on this, and I was like, well, why am I doing this? I'm like, whatever, man, just get in front of this casting director again, and maybe something good will come out. Maybe she'll be like, oh no, not that role. Here, be the lead.
Right.
Something delusional like that. So as I'm walking through the building in kind of the middle of New York, I'm like thinking to myself, like, why are all these taxi cab cars parked around the block? I didn't think anything of it. I'm like, I don't know, maybe it's lunchtime. Like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Right. So I go upstairs, and the elevator opens, and it just smells like curry and feet and like really strong smells. And there's like 45 taxi cab drivers just sitting there.
Yeah.
I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, this is not going to go good. Yeah. So, as I'm kind of breathing in the air, right, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm kind of going over because there's lines. It's not like,
It's a roll. It's a roll.
You're not like saying, get in the cab. Like there's like a back and forth, and I'm thinking to myself, how many of these guys not going to be able to do that? Mm-hmm. So I get in there and I do my thing, and she says, you're too white collar for this, and I flipped out. I was like, I've been in here 2 times. This is the 3rd time. Why the hell do you keep calling me back here? I'm not a Pakistani cab driver. I am the doctor, the dentist, the lawyer, the detective. Call me when you figure it out. I stormed out of there, and I went into Mike's office and I screamed at him.
Yeah, Mike would send you on, sometimes he would send you on commercials. I think he got paid by how many people he sent, because I'm like, what the fuck was I sent to this fucking commercial audition for? They want a skinny guy. Why am I here,
Yeah. But that was a lot of fun, man. It was a lot of fun.
Do you remember seeing the episode? With who got it?
I don't know whether I was with you, but I think I was with a whole bunch of dudes from Mike's. It was the only time I've ever been kicked out of a sushi restaurant. I think you were with me. On the Upper East Side.
What happened?
We were at a sushi restaurant in the upper 70s, East Side, I think, or maybe it could have been 80s. It was near that gym up there in the 90s.
Oh, Pumping Iron?
Yeah, it was near that gym. And we were in there kind of in between lunch and dinner, and it was all you can eat. We got it, I think towards the end of lunch.
Yeah, that's my place, yeah. That was my place.
So much, this little Japanese guy comes out and says, "You got to leave. You eat all my food." And
Yuka.
And leave. I just remember, I think you were there, but it was definitely.
I was definitely probably there, because that was my place. I would go there every single weekend. Yeah, like this.
Maybe that was it.
I didn't get kicked out because they liked me, but you guys might have been.
Well, it was like 8 of us, man.
Yeah, they didn't like when you ate too much food there, but. Every once in a while you got a big group. And I remember seeing Steve Weinberger used to come there on the weekends. Everyone would drive in. There was no buffet. There was no sushi places where you can order unlimited sushi for one price back in the 90s. This was the only place. So if you wanted to go, you had to come from Jersey. People came from Long Island. They came from Westchester. And it was a little tiny place too. Like it was like all bodybuilders on Friday or Saturday night. It was crazy. And I would organize all the people to meet me there. All right, I'm going to be there at 8 o'clock. Make sure everyone would drive in and meet. It didn't matter. It was fun. But let's talk about what you guys are doing now, because you had been telling me that Dean, your brother, and you have this company where you get. Why don't you tell us what you do with the hemps? Because
sure, I'm gonna let Adine take this, because he's the CEO of the company. I'm the inventor of the process.
Give us the 2-minute version of what's going on.
I'll give you the 2-minute version. So 9Fiber, the number 9, the word fiber. 9Fiber is an agrotech company with a patented process that transforms the waste streams from the current cannabis and hemp industries into sustainable fibrous materials for 9 major markets, right? So 9Fiber, 9 markets.
Where'd you get this idea from?
This idea is all Amin's. It's not mine at all. He as with most things, he dumps shit on me to figure out. So he just walks away. So I guess a long time ago, and by long time ago, I'm thinking like 2014-ish, 2015, early 2015. Amin was a grower, and let's call the gray market days in Colorado and in California. And as I don't know how many of your viewers know, but on the marijuana side or cannabis side, your waste yield is weekly. So in very short time, amine is accumulating an enormous amount of just waste stock and stems. These are, they look like little Christmas trees. So it's not like an insignificant amount of mess, right?
Right.
And right around that time, he had discovered hemp and, watches a lot of videos on hemp. And he's calling me every 15 minutes about hemp and hemp this and hemp that and hemp the other. And the power of hemp, the political kind of conspiracy theories around hemp and what stopped it from growing here and how it's, proliferating kind of throughout the rest of the world and already a thriving industry elsewhere and the textile industry and all this other stuff. And he said to me, he goes, I came up with this kind of process that turns it into fiber. And first of all, I'm like, what the fuck is fiber? Like that's how far I had to come on the learning. But essentially, what amine did is he compressed a process that normally takes anywhere from 16 days to a month down to 90 minutes. And the chemistry only emits water and oxygen and really creates two sellable products. So the fiber, which turns into the fabric for textiles and carpets and drapes and nonwovens and things like that. But then also the more important piece of it is the woody core is called the hurd, which is a cellulose material.
Right.
And the other thing that amine figured out was that in this chemistry, we also rid this material of all the pesticides, herbicides, THC, CBD, heavy metals, and the most important component is lignin, which is kind of a gluey kind of thing that is in plant matter. Mm-hmm. And when you remove these materials, you then can use this waste stream or these waste products in things like plastics and batteries and aerospace applications and different kind of graphene applications. So it's a real kind of clean technical end product. So he essentially got it to patent pending and turned it over to me. Why did he turn it over to me? Well, I'm the only one he can trust. Number one, right? And anybody else would just find a way to run away with it because he's such a brilliant inventor. But sometimes the back end of the business is a little loosey goosey.
Right.
So turn it over to me, and my first question was, who the fuck cares? Yeah. Because it's great to have a solution to a problem if A, people recognize it's a problem, and B, somebody you can monetize the solution. So I spent the next 2 years building a team, answering the who cares question, and it turns out a lot of people care and a lot of big industries care, and creating the foundation for what would be the revival of the industrial hemp market.
So who made this thing I got on my face right here?
So let's take a look at that thing. That is and I'll do the same. We'll all put it on here so we can be like the fucking.
It's very light. It doesn't prevent me from breathing.
It's breathable, right?
Yeah, it's breathable.
So this is a 100% hemp mask. This hemp mask is made with our waste fiber, or waste fiber that goes into a blended existing hemp cloth already. Mm-hmm. And then we made it here in the U.S. It's USA made.
Right.
And the advantages of this is that hemp is naturally antimicrobial. It's naturally UV resistant. It's naturally hypoallergenic. This is a washable, reusable mask. We kind of dedicated. We call this our hero mask. So it's dedicated to the everyday hero.
Can you make some bras out of this? Sports bras for women?
With that size, it'd be pretty small. But maybe
this is only one cup size, right? This is one cup
maybe
right
that's
here.
Competition size. But anyway, so it's rated for civilians. It's not rated for medical PPE, nor would you want it for that. Right? You want the medical PPE in the hands of the professionals. But this is that breathable, reusable mask that has those higher qualities than a basic mask. And then we went and upped it a notch and did one with 100% silver cloth.
Okay.
So it's 100% silver cloth on the outside, and then it's 100% hemp on the inside.
Oh, wow.
So, right? The question is, why silver? Well, silver, like copper, is antiviral. It's super soft. It's also anti-radiation. So you can wrap your cell phone in this thing, and you won't, it won't it won't buzz. You won't feel it buzz.
Dean, how come this black one smells like it's got cologne in it?
Well, first of all, that's the micro. Is that the microfiber mask? What is that? That's not mine, man. I don't know whose jockstrap that is.
No, this is This is it.
Oh, it's the other company.
Oh, that's another company. That's a microfiber mask. That's not 9-fiber.
Okay.
That's for another show. Yeah, that's just a straight cotton mask.
All right, that came in the package you guys sent me. So.
Oh, I'm sorry. You should have gotten you were supposed to get a silver one, but I'll send it.
I got a silver one somewhere. I think this Tyler stole it from me though.
All right, the silver one is legit. So
Okay.
we start our we open our Amazon website. We're in the middle of getting pictures for the design now, so
Right.
we're going to open that website later this week, over the weekend.
Right.
So if anybody's listening that wants information, just go to info@9fiber.com.
9fiber.com. Okay.
And we'll tee you up when we're
right.
ready to launch the.
You're not going to make $1 million on selling masks. What's the major application you guys are really pushing this hemp fiber towards?
So no, you're right. Textiles is a $1 trillion industry. So there is a niche market for alternative fabrics and fibers. You're
Gotcha.
right. We're not going to make $1 gazillion. However, we sold our first 1,200 in less than a week.
Oh wow.
We're now looking at B2B sales with other big companies like Bloomberg and HBO and NBC and Goldman Sachs, and we can co-brand the symbol out here for the company's brand. So people are looking at this for a breathable solution for the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
So we won't make $1 million on it, but we'll make some good money on it.
No, you'll make good money, but I'm just saying. I mean, masks in general. I mean, I think if you made shirts and like you became like the next Under Armour, because people like recyclable, they like environmentally friendly type of products, and this seems to fit that. And it's UV resistant. It seems to fit that protocol, so to speak.
It does.
Profile.
But masks are very topical. It's a low barrier entry to design and execute on it. The margins are quite good. They're not unreasonable. But we're also donating a portion of our proceeds back to first responder charities. And we're working on T-shirts and tank tops that actually we took the silver and the hemp and blended them together.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'd like. I'd like to make
Yeah.
a T-shirt line with the fiber. Sure.
Right. So we actually just got our fabric yesterday. We're in the middle of doing that cut and sew and design work this week and next week. So.
Where do you do that? Do you have your own factory?
It's in LA. What's been interesting about me, right? Let's get this clear, right? My background's in sports medicine and cardiac rehab, right? So It wasn't in the manufacturing industry.
Right.
So my 3-year drinking from a fire hose has been transitioning into understanding the manufacturing industry.
Right.
And most people don't know it's about 300 steps to go from field to the shirt on your back.
Okay.
And me now knowing all those steps, I know how to leverage resources to get kind of lower the cost and scale production quickly. So
Cool.
we're doing these in LA.
Very cool. Very cool.
Really quick, I just wanted to show you something.
Yeah.
Okay. This is what the hurd looks like. This is the core part of the plant without the fiber.
Really?
Basically, what happens is you see how I'm peeling. See that little peeling right there?
Yeah.
Or
That's what goes into your shirt.
that's what makes the clothing is that little peeling. That's it.
How do you get that off of there?
In that peeling, it looks
chemistry
like
does.
in that peeling looks like this. In this is a lot of gum and ligament and stuff like that. But when you take it, my process strips all this. Once it's all removed, then you're left with little threads of fiber.
Yeah,
So-
and it becomes cottonized, Dave. It becomes like
It's cottonized, right?
Well, I don't know. What does cottonize mean? How do they take those little fiber strands and make them into something?
So you have to go through a process called cottonization, where you take those fibers and you make them super soft, and then those fibers become a yarn, and then that yarn turns into a fabric.
I
So
see.
those are the steps that go into creating a fabric.
Wow, that's a lot of work. It seems like. It seems like there's a lot of it. It seemed like it would be a very big investment to first start this whole process off. I don't know if it is or not.
On the textile side, that's true. But what's interesting about what it means chemistry does is that since it separates that fiber, that outer skin, from the bulk of material, which is that hurd, that stick, when it gets milled down to a powdery substance,
Yeah.
is the formulation that goes into a bioplastic. That's the formulation that creates hemp graphene. So the investment really is getting it to that stage and then being able to send that to the next person who creates the final product. And that's what we've spent the last 2 years doing, is getting those end markets.
It looks like a piece of a tree. Why can't they take a tree and turn it to sawdust and make it into fiber, into a shirt?
They do. The tree cellulose industry is a multi-trillion-dollar
Oh, I didn't
industry.
even know that. I'm a little late to the market.
So cellulose is in everything. It's an inert filler in your pills for vitamins and minerals and cosmetics. It's in plastics. It's in brake pads.
Right.
Cellulose is in everything. So we were just replacing our cellulose with their cellulose, and we're able to do it cheaper.
Interesting. I didn't even know that. All right, let me change topics for a second. I wanted to ask you, because a lot of people, been asking me what your take is on the whole Milos insulin protocol. Now, I don't know if you saw the show, but you've seen shows with Milos before. You've been on them, actually, where Milos and I were debating once again insulin and the usage of it. And insulin, Milos's thing is that he likes to take pre-training insulin, pre-workout insulin with a ton of carbs, and then pounding carbs the whole workout while you're training, liquid carbs, of course, sugars. And and then doing the post-workout, insulin and more sugar. And obviously, I'm in favor of the post-workout insulin. But I was debating him and arguing with him about the pre-workout one, and I was wondering what your take on it was, because you were a big insulin guy back in the day.
I think the first show we did was Milos and I, and you were talking about insulin protocols, right. And I actually tried his protocol, so that when I say this, I'm saying this from experience, because I wanted to actually give him the credit that he deserves before I start saying things like hypothetically or this or that or the other. Okay.
Right.
So this is what happened to me when I tried his protocol. I can't determine for sure on a chemical level exactly what happened to my body, but what it felt like was that the sugar also made my blood sugar level spike, and then I had insulin in me. So regardless of what the factors were, I went hypo. I got very dizzy. I had to stop working out, and I had to start pounding more drinks, and I couldn't even train. I just had to I almost couldn't focus. It was pretty bad.
Right.
So to me, it was dangerous. It is not something that I would ever recommend anyone to do personally, because of the fact that the factors of the metabolic rate getting out of control from working out and how much you burn versus how quickly you absorb, it's two different scales. You can't think that just because you drink sugar, you're going to absorb it that quickly. That's not necessarily true. But you can say, if I burn this much calories, I'm going to go through sugar faster. Right. That is true. We know that. So you can burn it faster than you can absorb it, which is the big problem, which tends to make you go hypo. And a lot of people that have faster metabolisms, it seems like it doesn't work for them at all.
Yeah, and my point to him was that when you're training, he's always talking about the blood and the muscle and delivering the nutrients to the muscle. If you're drinking, very concentrated glucose solutions while you're training, the blood is going to divert to the stomach. It should, but it really doesn't, because it stays in the muscle because the muscles are working, and the sugar just lays in your stomach a lot of times. It never gets absorbed, and that's why a lot of people do go hypo. So I said, well, if you're why not do it in the morning and have yourself all loaded up, and then a couple hours later you go to the gym, and then after you train you do your insulin and load up and replace what you lost. And he was and he has his. But there's nothing wrong. I think that everyone should have their own opinion, but that was just my debate. We pretty much agreed on everything else aside from the pre-workout insulin, and I think it's dangerous.
Right? You can't beat Milos in a debate, right?
Well, I don't even say we were debating. It was more like a discussion. But he had his beliefs, and I just think that the science of it is that I always told people I was a runner. When I would run, okay, you don't have to stop and pee when you're running. You can drink as much as you want while you're running. You're not going to stop and pee because your kidneys are not filtering the blood like they normally would, because the blood is diverted away from the kidneys and to the working muscles. Same thing with that digestive tract. Very rarely you have to go to the poop while you're training. It's like there's no blood supply, or it's very low to the intestinal GI tract, because it doesn't serve the body to be there, because you're training so hard that the working muscles need the blood supply. And that was my point to him. I said, it just doesn't make sense that, sure, you can absorb a very dilute, glucose solution that's mostly water, but you're not going to, a concentrated glucose solution is just not going to get into the bloodstream. And here you are trying to feed the insulin that you're giving the person. It doesn't make any sense. And so I didn't know,
I want to add to that, Dave. Part of his protocol requires the giant set style training.
Right.
And now, to me, this compounded the problem. It made it even worse.
Right.
It caused me to go hypo even quicker than what I would have, what brain would have normally calculated had I not done giant sets, because again, you're continually burning. Now, and the sugar just sits in your stomach. Honestly, I think this is what's giving people distended wastes. Part of it, I don't even see the need for insulin whatsoever unless you're taking growth hormone. If you're taking growth hormone, then I guess then you need to counteract the side effects. But if you're not, then you really shouldn't. There's no point in it. It's really not anabolic like anything else.
Right. Well, his point is that there is a pharmacological effect of insulin, which there probably is to a certain degree, but I think that it doesn't need to be, it has to be timed properly.
Yes.
I usually tell people to put it around your biggest meals because, let's face it, when you're on GH, you do become a little insulin resistant. So if you're going to have trouble absorbing sugars, or if you're going to run high blood sugars, it's going to be around the biggest meals of the day because you're just not going to be able to crank out enough insulin. Usually when people start to fail with insulin production, it's usually what they call phase 1 insulin release, meaning that when you get that big surge of blood sugar, that initial release of insulin to help take care of that sugar and drive it into the muscles, that's what you don't get enough of. It's not the long phase, which is kind of just always there. That seems to be around for a lot longer. That's the last to go. It's the first phase insulin release.
That's right.
That's why people wake up with high fasting blood sugars in the morning, because what happens is that when they're sleeping, before they wake up, the liver releases a huge surge of insulin a huge surge of glucose, and then the body can't compensate for that. So I said, use your Humulin R or your Humalog, whatever you want to use, around the biggest meals of the day. The two maybe like breakfast and like post-workout meal if you want. And I think that would be the right way to address it. And, he's, into this whole eat all your carbs and drink all your sugar around the workout.
One time period. It's all in one window. And it's really not optimal because you can't digest it all. It doesn't absorb well.
No.
But as far as like what you're saying, what I suggest is I suggest training in the morning. And then that way you have more time to eat food and digest food instead of training in the evening where then you eat one meal, then go to sleep and you're basically not eating all night. So if you train first thing in the morning, I mean, some people could train fasted, but it depends on how much fat you want to lose. If you don't want to lose that, so I don't train fasted.
Some people though are very dehydrated. I used to be very dehydrated in the morning and like very flat. I didn't have a good pump in the morning because my body was detoxing overnight and I would wake up like literally dehydrated. So I found it harder. I wasn't as strong in the morning. So I like to have a couple meals in me. I didn't train late at night, but I did like to have a few meals under my belt usually.
Because you're very lean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you're leaner, you're going to get dehydrated quicker. So the solution to that would have been some egg whites and some salt or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so that's also the same reason why I don't train fasted. But some older guys get a benefit out of it. But either way, you train in the morning. If you're going to go ahead and go do growth hormone and insulin, post-workout, and then later on in the day, if you're going to do it again, there's opportunity for later on in the day. But you can't do this more than 4 days a week, or else you're going to end up compounding negative side effects.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you gave us your effect. I mean, your opinion on that whole insulin thing, and we'll get you back. And I'm going to be doing these debates with Milos probably till the end of the time. People love it. they love to hear us argue.
Let him know. I think Milos and I we're up for round 2. Round 2 is coming up. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, guys, I want to just thank you for stopping by. I love the innovation behind this product. It's 9 Fiber is the name of the brand. I love it. It's got some good branding to it. Check out the website. You can buy your masks there. When you guys get T-shirts in, let me know because I want you to print some T-shirts for me. Some environmentally friendly hemp fiber T-shirts. And I think it's a great idea. And I mean, hopefully your innovation will pay off in a nice payout down the road.
That would be great. Thanks, Dave. Thanks for having us on.
I mean, also, I wanted to say, I hear that Roger Stone doesn't look like he's going to do any jail time from what that article you sent me, huh?
Well, he texted me the other day, and he says it's not over yet, but it's good.
Well,
So,
Donald Trump said there's
don't
no
work with
way.
you.
Yeah, Donald Trump went on the record and said there's no way that Roger's going to jail. So that's great for him.
Let's see it all
Let's
play
keep
out.
our fingers crossed for Roger Stone. All right, guys.
By the
Thanks
way,
so much for joining us again. I'm Dave Palumbo for another installment of Guru Talk. Thanks, guys.